Canelo Alvarez versus Jermell Charlo. Pardon my voice, man. Recovering from a little sickness here. Had a big track and field camp out, 65 kids. It was raining, a whole bunch of energies, different forth yelling. So my voice is in recovery and I'm fighting a little cold. So if my voice breaks or my voice cracks a little bit, give me a little bit of grace. But we're going to knock this video out. A lot of people have been in my DMs about it. So let's get into it. Canelo Alvarez, Jermell Charlo, 12 rounds in the 168-pound division for all of Canelo's belts. Jermell jumping up 2 divisions to challenge the champion. Is it crazy for Jermell Charlo to jump up to 168 from 154? I don't think so. Charlo on paper is the bigger man anyway, right? I don't think it's going to be too hard for him to make the weight and make it look good too. A lot of people were saying, you know, Canelo has been picking easy fights again over the past couple of years. Man, I'm not one of those people. I think Canelo's resume is solid, man. And this is not an easy fight. He could have fought a much lesser opponent. This is actually going to be a tougher fight than most people think. I think Jermell Charlo has a very good shot at causing the upset, but can he do it is the question. So let's get into it. Let's start with the champion, Canelo Alvarez. 59 wins, 2 losses, 2 draws, and 39 wins by way of knockout. Canelo has been around for a while now. He's 33 years old, been in 63 fights. And if he does beat Charlo, this will be his 60th win. That is a big number. 60 wins is a lot of boxing. 60 is a number with a lot of experience. 60 is a big number. And I say all of that because of all the talk that has been going on with people when they talk about Canelo. Right? There's been a lot of talk about him saying he's been on the decline or going on the decline. While I can understand those statements, I'm not going to say that he is there yet for me just yet, my opinion, because from 2018 to 2021, that really wasn't too long ago, Canelo went on one of the best runs we've seen in boxing in a while, and he became undisputed at 168 along the way, and he looked great doing it. Not to mention a nice statement win along the way against the bone crusher Sergey Kovalev at 175 pounds, right? The bone crusher, yeah, it wasn't as sharp as he was back in his prime, but it was still a quality win for Canelo. Has he had some questionable fights? Yeah, you can say that, right? We've touched on Canelo a couple times on the channel already, and we got into that discussion a little bit in those videos, but we don't need to go there today. Last year, he fought twice, right? He lost to Dimitri Bivol in a fight where we saw Bivol just assert himself into the ring. Right? Bivol is so disciplined and technically sound that he's not going to bite the bait of whatever Canelo put out. Right? Canelo has a way of sucking his opponents in and baiting them, and he takes advantage of them. The other thing was Bivol was not intimidated by Canelo, right? The smaller man on paper. Sometimes Canelo goes into fights where he is the smaller man, but his opponents don't realize that they are the bigger man, and they get intimidated by Canelo. And they let Canelo have his way inside of the ring. And he's the smaller man walking down the bigger man. And that's when they found themselves in trouble. Canelo was a big draw. And the big draw can seem intimidating and make you feel intimidated even if you don't think that you are. Until you get into the ring, you see all the people, you see all of the things that is attached to Canelo. It can come off as intimidating. His persona, his magnitude, man, it's a big aura about Canelo when you step inside of the ring. But Dimitri Bivol wasn't having none of that. After that, he fought Triple G in a trilogy fight, a fight where, if we can be honest, both men didn't really look like they were too much interested or was operating at their best in that fight. They just didn't really seem too interested in the fight, but a chapter in their series is closed, right? I also read that Canelo had a slight injury leading into the fight, and he had surgery after as well, too. So his hands are good. He's feeling good. In his last fight, he fought John Ryder, who's fought some of the similar names that Canelo had fought as well. We're talking Callum Smith, we're talking Ricky Fielding, we're talking Danny Jacobs, and Billy Joe Saunders, I believe. A lot of people didn't like Canelo's performance in that fight, but I thought it was a solid performance. John Ryder, man, did not travel all the way to Mexico to lie down and to make it an easy fight, as many people thought that it was going to be. He came to fight. He was coming in with a lot of momentum rolling on his favor. I believe he was on like a 6-fight win streak, right? We know Ryder was strong. We know he's durable with a ton of heart. And although Canelo didn't get the stoppage, man, you can't deny the fact that he did put a beating on John Ryder. Right? He took a lot of punishment, but Ryder showed a lot of toughness, and I think gained Canelo's respect. But Canelo was having his way in the fight, man. You know the shots that Canelo likes to use, the right hooks, the straight hands down the middle, the uppercuts, the combinations. It was landing cleanly against John Ryder. You know, Canelo likes that simple 1-2 combination. That simple 1-2 combination dropped John Ryder in the 5th round. Simple movements that Canelo usually does, but it's in its simplicity, it's often effective and clean, right? Canelo's power has carried, in my opinion, as well. Maybe not the same power as he was at 154, 160, right? But still got nice power in a shot. You can't take Canelo lightly in that category. Ryder fought back, though, every time that he was hurt. And you have to give him credit for that, because he could have easily lied down, easily stayed down, right? But he was fighting for something bigger. He was fighting for the respect, man. He did not want to be the guy to come into Canelo's hometown, right, in front of his home crowd and get knocked out in front of his home crowd. So he was tough. He was durable, man. I thought he fought as best as he could and hung in there as best as he could. Now, Ryder had success when he was the more physical guy, right? Stepping to Canelo and not allowing Canelo to be the aggressor and push the pace. If you let Canelo be the guy to always come forward, he's going to tee off on you, right? He's going to bait you, and he's going to make sure that you pay. That won't be good. Right? He gets more comfortable the more he's in control of the fight. And as the fight goes on, his hands start to get a little bit more fluid consistency throughout the fight. So Charlo needs to come in and not be intimidated by Canelo, number one, and be ready to commit to whatever he is going to do. If you're going to let your hands go offensively, you got to commit to that, right? If you're going to commit to being a counter puncher and being more defensively responsible, you're going to commit to that. You can't do too much thinking and allow Canelo to be the one to shift the momentum and to shift the pace. Because one thing about Canelo, man, he's going to come with that pressure, right? And it may not seem like he is doing a lot until you get timed with a shot that you didn't see coming, or a shot that he baited you in. Right. So you can't just come in to survive. You have to come to fight. You got to adjust and to go where the fight go. Canelo will be ready, as he always is. He's comfortable at this weight now. We can't really say the same about Charlo yet, because we haven't seen him at this weight. But let's talk about Jermell Charlo. 35 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw, 19 wins by way of knockout. Unfortunately, the moment that he steps into the ring, he is going to be stripped of his titles, which is, you know, interesting, kind of crazy about that. But what can you do? But you have to respect him for taking this risk, for taking this fight. Obviously, nobody ever wants to lose, but not everybody wants to take that challenge. Obviously, when a Canelo payday comes into the mix, you better be able to take it, right? You're probably not going to make as much money fighting other guys as you would fighting a Canelo, but it also was a great opportunity for Charlo here to showcase his skills and his ability and really put himself on a different category, man. So I'm excited to see what he's going to do inside the ring. Now, his only loss came from when he fought Tony Harrison, where he avenged that loss a year later and won back his title. Then he fought Jason Rosario and took Rosario's belt within 8-round stoppage. And he fought Brian Castano twice. Now, in the first fight, they fought to a draw, a great back and forth fight. But the first fight was a fight where you could make a case for Castano winning the fight more than Charlo winning the fight. I'm not mad at the draw, however it ended up, whatever the case is, but you can make an argument for either or. But I think a lot of people thought Brian Castano actually won the fight. I just wanted to see the rematch, because the first fight, man, it was wicked. There was a lot of excitement in that fight. In the first fight, Castano consistently took the fight to Charlo. I thought he was the aggressor. I thought he had more volume. I thought he was more consistent throughout the fight. Nice combinations, and he had Charlo hurt a few times early in the fight. Castano was catching Charlo with body shots, counters, and hooks in the first half of the fight. But the strong will and the heart, man, and what makes Charlo so special is This man's got a heart of a champion, which is why he is a champion, because he fought his way back into that fight. He started being more aggressive, letting his hands go a bit more, started to push the pace and doubling up his jab and not being predictable with his attacks, going to the body, making Castano pay when he would come in too aggressively. Man, he had him hurt in that 11th round, but wasn't able to capitalize it. But both men fought a great fight in the first fight, and it was only right that we get to see the rematch because of all the excitement that we saw in the first one. Now, in the rematch, some things were similar, but some things were not the same. We saw a much more aggressive Jermell Charlo, especially in the early part of the fight. He was moving a lot better, staying off the ropes in the corner, using his jab and that sweeping hook to his advantage, vicious body punching. Castano didn't change anything. Right? You know what he's about. He's got that slick aggressor, right? He comes to fight, tries to lull you into fighting his fight, tries to make it a brawl. The man's tough. He's got a great chin. In the first fight, Castano got Charlo to fight his fight on the inside, on the pocket, standing and trading, but not in the second fight, man. It was like he was much more disciplined in his game plan because he would engage in Castano's fight when he needed to, but then he would revert back to his. He would box on the outside, setting everything up behind the jab, and he knew what punch to throw at the right time, when to be offensive-minded, and when to be a little bit cautious and aware of what he was doing. I thought it was a much better showing both offensively and defensively, and a much more complete fight for Jermell Charlo. It really showcased his skills and his ability to make adjustments in real time under pressure. Man, he just wore down Castano in that fight, and he was able to get the stoppage win. Castano still did his thing. He was still able to do some good things offensively. He still landed some good shots of his own, but offensively, he still had a lot of success. But defensively, man, he had more lapses than the first fight, and I credit that to Charlo for just coming in, being more aggressive, and letting his hands go a lot sooner. But also the angle changes that he was taking to let off his different punches and his attacks. Man, change the angles, change the pace, and you often get a different result. In this fight, we saw what Charlo can do, the complete package of Jermell Charlo. The other thing too is Charlo looked much more determined and dialed in the rematch, and that was great to see because, man, to me, he is that good, right? Canelo thinks that this Charlo is the better Charlo, and I'm not going to argue that. I think they're both great. They're both solid. But I would say the Jermell is a little bit more versatile than what he can do. He said he wants to stop Canelo. He's going to have the size and the height advantage in this fight, but it's going to be tough to take out a guy who hasn't been stopped before and a guy who might have the best chin in the sport of boxing today, pound for pound. So who wins? I'm very interested to see how Charlo has gained the weight. Right? If he looks powerful yet slow, it's going to be a problem. And if he gained the weight but didn't lose his speed and athleticism, man, he'll be able to have a lot of success in this fight and give Canelo some problems. Pure size alone, you're not going to beat Canelo. If you're big and you're stiff, you're not going to beat Canelo. But if you can be slick and move with athleticism, right, to slip in and to slip out and to be fluid with your movements, to give him different angles, man, those are things that can work to your favor. We know Canelo has a harder time with guys like that, right? So Charlo has to stay disciplined as well, but not too disciplined where he won't take the necessary risk and needed risks in the moment. We know Canelo is going to come forward. That's one thing he is going to do and has always done. You got to be wary of his right hand, right? Wherever it's coming from, Canelo can loop it in. He can push it through. He can hook it in. He can uppercut it. That right hand is effective when he decides to throw it. Got to be careful of the uppercuts and the counters and be careful of the traps that he sets. Just because he may be sitting on the ropes does not mean you need to take that invitation and come in swinging. You got to be mindful of what you're doing when you're fighting Canelo, and you have to be patient. It's a 12-round fight. You don't have to empty everything in the first 3 rounds. You got to be patient and set it up properly. The other question that I have for Charlo is, what is the conditioning as the fight goes on with the added weight? Canelo is going to bring the pressure every single round, even if he takes steam off his aggression. He's consistent. If Charlo can use some of that same flurry, 1, 2, 3, 4 combinations as Bivol did and used and stepped back after his shots just to create a little bit of space and separation and not overcommit to his work and keep his hands up, man, he can do some of the same good things that Bivol was able to use in his favor against Canelo. I'm hoping Jermell Charlo comes in to box more in this fight and not just let the ego be of a brawling type of fight. It's tough to beat Canelo on any night inside of the ring, but with the judges, when you got to work, you know, when the judges are involved too, it's different, right? Tank might be the biggest draw domestically in America, but globally, man, Canelo was the bigger name. We saw some of those scorecards when Canelo and Bivol fight, and it was a pretty one-sided fight for Bivol, and a judge had one of the fights pretty close. So it's always something to keep in mind whenever we talk about Canelo Alvarez, right? He's a big figure, man. There's a lot behind him. He's tough to beat inside of the ring, but we're never sure what the judges are seeing, especially with some of these new rules and stuff. But I like Canelo in this fight. If I could have seen Charlo fight at least one fight at 168, I might lean to him, honestly. But I don't think it's going to happen, man. I think Canelo is going to come out, and I think Canelo is going to win this fight by decision. What are your thoughts on this fight? Who do you have winning this one? Let me know in the comment section below. If you would like to support the channel, there's a couple ways you can do so. You can like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you would like support by way of donation, you can find options in the description below. Also, my Cash App handle will be on screen as well. Any amount goes towards the growth of this channel will be greatly, greatly appreciated. We got a membership section going on the channel. Don't always get to do all the suggested videos you guys suggest in the comment section below, but if you become a member, those suggested videos rise to the top, and I will do my best to get those done for you. Or if you'd like to become a member, just support the channel. That would be greatly, greatly appreciated as well. I see everybody that continues to donate, Cash App, PayPal. I appreciate each of you. You truly, truly are appreciated. So with all that being said, if you've been watching the video this long, do me a favor and subscribe to the channel, and we'll definitely see you next time.